Okay, we're live.
Hello.
Hi, Ryan. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about ThredUp because, yeah, like I said in my notes post, I just don't use it as much as some of the other ones. And I remember back when I was only used to eBay and Poshmark was like foreign to me, right? And now Poshmark
Mhm.
is native land, and now I'm like, want to just get more comfortable with ThredUp. So, Um,
Mhm.
tell us, like, how did you kind of land on ThredUp as the one that you ended up using the most?
It's funny because I'm nodding along and saying that like yeah, we all have these different workflows that end up working for us where before it seems daunting or as you said unappealing.
Right.
So the thing about ThredUp that I really appreciate and I think it also, is the reason that I came to your work is that I, I run a newsletter that's about parents and caregivers and the things that they
Great
need.
newsletter. Everyone should subscribe.
Yeah, and so one of the things that we need is clothes, turns out. And so I had been through a pretty rocky family building journey, and it left me with an entirely different body than I had before. And so, a lot of us know that we can't just bounce back to our pre-pregnancy selves, but even like my body was not going back even to my post-pregnancy body because of different things that had happened to me. And so, um, in the past, I had sort of spent time curating, like I described it to you as sort of like a cool girl wardrobe. I used to be a journalist. I wrote about music and food. I had like a whole vibe. Um, and suddenly I couldn't wear those things anymore. And they also didn't really feel like me. So I really needed like a complete wardrobe overhaul. But you and I have talked about the fact that we come from backgrounds of activism. I grew up in a family of environmentalists. Um, fashion was not necessarily a huge priority in our house. And so I really was in this bind where I didn't want to be consumerist, whatever that word means, right? Um, but I needed everything. I needed new pants. I needed new shoes. I needed like every season because my entire body had changed. And I was really struggling with that. And so I really came to ThredUp around the same time that I came to your work
Oh,
because,
we're getting there.
I'm yeah,
Mm.
I my background and what I write about a lot is engaged Buddhism, meditation, mindfulness, not in like a sanctimony gross way, but just in a sense of like, I really want to pay attention to this. I really want to think about this. Um, but I wasn't really clicking with a lot of sort of fashion bloggers out there. And when I came across your work, I was like, yes, I probably even searched for like mindful approaches
Mhm.
to clothing,
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
magic of SEO brought me to you.
yeah.
Um, and so I just really appreciated the fact that there was such permission given in your work, both to just buy what you need secondhand if you're feeling icky about the consumerist aspect of it, and also pointing out that the most sustainable clothes that you can wear are the clothes that you actually wear.
Yeah.
And so it really gave me a lot of permission to think, okay, um, if I sort of take the brakes off and just say, I'm just going to buy whatever I need secondhand and I'm going to allow myself to do that without guilt, um, it really opened things up for me. And the thing about ThredUp that I found really helpful was that as somebody who, I'm a writer, like Sex in the City, Carrie, that's not a thing. We don't have anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and so what was really kind of cool about it was that, I could start by loading up on credits by sending the clothes that no longer fit me. So
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
was really quite therapeutic to like take these clothes and say, I'm not
Mhm.
going back. This is
Oh, I
a
love that.
prior version of me. I love her. Sometimes I miss her, but like
Mhm.
sort of doing the Marie Kondo thing of like, thank you for your service. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know, American Apparel tank top from
Yeah.
when I was cute and hot in the early aughts, like,
Yeah.
bye.
Yeah, yeah,
Instead,
yeah.
I'm gonna be buying some sensible sweaters that
Yeah.
I can machine wash because I have a small child.
Yeah, yeah. So many things. I mean, I think so many people can relate to so much of what you said, and I'm curious, people who are watching, if you drop in the comments, I have 2 questions for you. One is, do you any of you shop ThredUp, and do you like it? Or, like, what do you like about it? And maybe any tips you have for the rest of us. But also, how many of us have had those kind of body shifts? I mean, mine has been very gradual over time. And so it was a very gradual kind of like, okay, this season I need some new pants, and oh, next year my winter coat doesn't fit anymore and whatever. But I think so many people, especially with health problems and with trauma, have a more sudden change. And it is so disorienting to have to start from scratch. Um,
Mhm,
and I'm grateful that 2 things. I'm grateful that you were able to give yourself the permission to, like, because I always say, like, "What's the alternative? Like, what are you gonna do? Beat yourself up and then wear small too small clothes in the meantime?" Like, there is no alternative. And the
mhm,
fact that ThredUp is there and other secondhand sites to provide an alternative to buying an all-new wardrobe, which, by the way, sometimes is necessary also. Um, I'm grateful for that, for you. And so, yeah, and I think, it's so funny because it's so all connected, and you and I both know this and talk about this and how everything, um, it's more than the clothes, right? It's always more than the clothes. And so we get on this call to talk about ThredUp, but I wanna ask you a little bit more about body grief,
mhm,
and because you had such a, as the Body Trust, organization calls it, you had such a rupture with your
mhm.
body, and a reckoning, and you mentioned kind of packing those things up and sending them off, and was that a piece of grieving for you?
Yes, definitely, definitely. And yeah, I think body grief is real. And I also think, when I talk about meditation, I try to make a distinction between self-pity, which is
Mm,
like, why is this happening to me? Poor me. I alone am being singled out for this punishment, and self-compassion, which really has a common humanity piece. And so, um, yes, body grief can be a very individual experience because we've had these individual experiences of maybe privilege and being in a smaller body. Um, but it can also really connect us to people, you know? So if we think about self compassion as being like, what hurts? Who else
mhm,
feels this? And what's the medicine? What hurt
mhm,
was really the thing that hurt the most was um, just not having an experience of body neutrality, which I've talked to you
yeah,
about, where it's like, the waistband is cutting in if I'm trying to wear something that's too small, or if I'm trying to put something on that was from a pregnancy that, did not end in a living child, then like those clothes are so loaded. And so if I only have, clothing like these sort of like shells, these like
mhm,
2 hermit crab shells ago, and those are my only options, then I really can't come into the present moment, and I can't focus on, what I do have to say, even though I don't
yeah,
primarily write about style. I think that
yeah,
the point that you've made is that you don't have to care about style. It's actually about letting clothing recede into the background so that you can
mhm,
focus on what you do care about. Because otherwise, as you said, when people go through a body rupture, very, um, it can be very preoccupying. It can be retriggering. In the same way that people have talked about the fact that, going on a medication that helps bring down the food noise for them has freed up all of these mental resources to like start businesses or find themselves. Um, I experienced a lot of clothing noise that I
mhm,
didn't
mhm,
necessarily choose. And it wasn't because I was, necessarily a vain person who was trying to like
mhm,
win at fashion. It was just that there was so much sensory stimuli that was so incredibly
yeah,
distracting and was so tied to the rupture that I
yeah,
needed
yeah,
softness immediately,
mhm, mhm,
spaciousness, and luckily, I like welcome our new like wide leg pant elastic waist. You and I are like looking for
mhm,
the perfect
mhm,
elastic waist barrel jean at the same time.
mhm,
Like I welcome
mhm,
our wide leg overlords. Like it's
mhm,
been such a good time for
It
me.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
it's also just about like embracing what is new and fresh in the
Mhm.
moment for all femme-identified people in terms of there's just looser silhouettes now than there were when I was younger. And um, that just coincides with my needs right now. So,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree, it's really amazing. The fact that, like, elastic waist pants are not taboo anymore and the fact that
mm-hmm.
sneakers are cool. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
if I had had that in the early 2000s, like, I don't know, my feet would be much healthier, let's say that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so there's a couple things that I just wanna, and of course you know this, but I always take notes, just so I don't, because I will lose the thoughts go like that, out of my head. But, first of all, I just wanna, I love this kind of concept that you named of those past selves being like hermit crab shells. Like, you grow and you move out of those and they're previous, like, homes, and they were comfortable when you were in there, but you need a new home. I love that. I think, and Abby Atwood, I'll tag her somewhere when I repost this or whatever, but Abby Atwood just, wrote a piece about the body checking and the way that clothes are too small can really impede your growth in an intuitive eating and anti-diet journey. And I talk about that a lot with clients where, again, like I said before, what's the alternative? The alternative is being uncomfortable in your clothes. And when you are constantly pulling or tugging or pushing against clothing, like you said, it pulls you out of your present moment. And that, like in the body image world, is called body checking, right? And it's something that we want to cut down on because it really is something that can really turn your day bad. Like, it can make things start to
Yeah.
go for you. Um, and so you also know, I mean, I love that we know each other so well, but like you also know that, like, my bottom line, when we're considering anything to do with ethics or environmental concerns, my bottom line is always going to be the person's mental health, because, and I believe clothes that fit is part of having a healthy mind, because of the things we just spoke about. But if you don't have that, if you are curled up in bed and don't want to get out of bed because you feel so bad about your body, you are unable at that point to not only take care of yourself, the community around you, but you're certainly unable to go out and work, for any of the efforts that you believe are gonna make the world a better place, right? So to me, that's, like, where it all starts, and it is really interesting. People who are in my, the unflattering Substack chat know that I've been asking readers in the last couple of days about this concept that is surfacing recently, and we talked about it in our writing group, but this idea that there's now some moralization and some guilt even around shopping secondhand, right? Like, now people are saying you can shop secondhand too much. And whether that's a systemic or an individual problem is something that I'm going to be writing about soon. But I just kind of want to reiterate that for you, having that was what kind of saved you in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about, the experience of just kind of being in your bed and not knowing what to do. Um,
Yeah, because that's
that's
who we are.
right. Yeah, you
Yeah.
and I both struggle with
Yeah.
chronic fatigue, chronic illness. That's,
Mhm.
the medication that I take to be well is also one of
Mhm.
the reasons why I am in a bigger body. I also
Mhm.
just want to name
Yeah.
that we can't look at somebody's body and think, oh, they're healthy because they're thinner. They might be on medication that is literally life saving. And sometimes those medications come with side effects. So,
Yeah.
full disclosure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, chronic fatigue is a huge part of my life. And so, um, and being a caregiver, I cannot spend like hours upon hours just browsing stores, pulling on clothes
Mhm.
that have that tight, doesn't fit quality.
Mhm.
That would not have been great for my mental health as well. And
Right.
so, I'm not an influencer for ThredUp. Like, they can do
Yeah.
what they
Yeah,
want,
let's
I
make
guess.
that
But
clear, by the way. There's no
yeah,
sponsor. thing going
Yeah,
on.
there's no affiliate, anything is happening. What I liked about it, and I've told you about my kind of, like, workflow with it as a person who doesn't wanna spend too much time and energy on this project, but, like, needs it to be complete.
Mhm,
I started very much, like, just lying in my bed making collages the way that you invite
mhm,
your one-on-one clients to do.
mhm,
I'm an elder millennial, so I was using Pinterest. There's probably
mhm,
cooler tools out there, but that's what I was doing.
mhm.
And that was really helpful because then, you as you said to your clients, you start to notice patterns, you start to notice colors that you like. Um, the fact that I was noticing patterns in those colors also actually led to the design of intending. Our friend Emmy Singer helped
Oh,
me work with that, where I was like, I
yeah.
just think I really love these 5 colors. They just keep appearing.
Oh my god, the
And
same thing is
so,
happening for me right now, like, I'm getting the
really?
brand and yeah, and I look at my outfit every day and I'm like, "Okay, these are my branding colors."
Yeah, exactly. It's not intentional, but it is, yeah, it's really, yeah, the clothing piece ended up actually being a substantial part of what led to me thinking about how visually I wanted to welcome people into the
Mhm.
mindfulness space that I run. So, in any case, I pinned
Yeah,
and pinned and then sort of knew what I was looking for, and then I could just
yeah.
create searches within ThredUp, and like I was telling you, it's like, let the robots shop for me. Like, I
Mhm,
don't have
mhm.
time. I
Yeah,
got places to be. I gotta take my kids somewhere. And so
yeah.
then, you wake up in the morning and it's auto-populated with, clothes
So
that are your exact measurements.
yeah,
You don't have to look at anything else. You don't have to be like, "Oh, no, it's sold out in my size," or, "Oh, no, this shitty brand doesn't carry my size because it's not size inclusive." It's like, this is
yeah,
literally like, all of the jumpsuits are
yeah,
my exact, sort of unusual measurements, and
yeah.
so it's just so nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so back up a second. So first of all, I wanna ask again of anyone who's watching if you use ThredUp, if you have any thoughts about ThredUp. Um, and then I just wanna name what you said, kind of when people have to start completely over like you did, my recommendation is always to gather inspiration.
Mhm,
And I still think Pinterest is the I mean, I'm Gen X, but I still think Pinterest is the best tool. And so that's what you did. You kind of collected a bunch of, things that you liked the look of, and just to remind people that we wanna try and do that with a neutral mind, where we're not
mhm,
placing judgment on the bodies in these photos. We're just trying to look at the clothing and whether it appeals to us somewhere in our gut. We wanna
mhm,
try and block out the thoughts that say, "Well, I would never look good in that," or "That doesn't come in my size," or "I have nowhere to wear that." When we're
mhm.
pinning, we wanna try and just be as free and open as we can. So now back up and tell us, like, how you set up everything on ThredUp so that you have it
Mhm.
working for you.
Yeah. So, the really nice thing about ThredUp is that you can shop with your own measurements. So you can tell it your sizes.
Okay, I did
Um,
not know that.
yeah. And so, so if you know your measurements, that can be really helpful.
So
I'm,
pause 1
yeah,
second.
go ahead.
So is this when, so when I search, like, sometimes I'll search and I'll just click my letter sizes. Is that the same thing, or is there another place where you can put in, like, actual measurements?
So, I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly when I was initially programming my sizes, but I've changed them, right? Because
Yeah,
you and I
yeah.
have talked about how this really all comes back to impermanence and embracing the fact that everything changes. And so I'm constantly editing my sizes. They change all the time.
Mhm,
But I find that what's really helpful is that I'm a shorter person, but I have a wider hip measurement.
mhm,
And so
mhm.
there's literally no store that I could just walk into where the pants fit.
Yeah.
And so it's so helpful because with ThredUp, you can search by inseam and by waist circumference. And so
Mhm,
I'm only seeing pants that, like, fit my exact
mhm,
specifications, which
mhm,
is really,
mhm.
really helpful because, again, that way there's not comparison.
Yeah.
You're like, "Oh, man, well, these would be so cute, but they don't really fit
Mhm,
they
mhm.
don't come in my length or whatever." And I will say, like, it is really nice because the clothes are not on models. They're just on a
Oh, that's
mannequin.
an interesting point.
And so really the clothes are foregrounded and you're
Mhm.
not being fed, your
Yeah,
internalized bias machine is not being fed any sort of preconceived notions about who can wear these clothes or
yeah,
who wore them before.
yeah.
Um,
That's a really good
yeah.
point. Okay, so you set up a search for pants, and
Yeah.
then what happens?
So you set up a search for pants and you can save the search. And so
Mhm.
then it generates both a page where you can see all of your saved searches. So you can kind of like scroll down. And I was telling you, it helps if you do have a wish list, right?
Yeah.
So like I mean, to your point, most of the people on my Pinterest page are like elderly Japanese men. So it's like a
Oh, I
lot of like oversized quilted denim.
oh,
Um, I
oh,
love a
that is such a
clog.
vibe. Like,
So
by the way, guys, like, just, like, you don't have to choose 3 words for your style. Like, what Ryan just said is, like, the perfect, like, mental image. It's like, "Okay, would that man wear this? Okay,
Mhm.
check."
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, having also I mean, I lived in Korea for a while and,
Mhm.
like, the women in Korea who are, like, middle-aged, like, it is understood that they can wear anything that they want. Like, are you wearing a
Right,
visor and also florals
right.
and also sparkly clogs and, like,
Yeah.
go off.
Yeah.
So I'm, like, really aging into my Ajuma area.
Mhm. Got it, love it.
So, yeah, so it's either, like, Ajuma style or, like, yeah, elderly
Yep,
Japanese men and, like, just who are incredibly stylish. So,
yeah, yeah.
lots of oversized menswear. But anyway, so, yeah, so you just you have an idea of what you would like to look for, and I know that not everybody likes to think about clothes that way, like, they wanna be spontaneous, they wanna find, like, the beautiful
Well, you
Dior
can do both.
whatever.
You can do
Yeah,
both.
so this is not that. This
Yeah,
is like, I'm going to a wedding in 6 months, I wanna see as many velvet jumpsuits as possible in my size, I might wanna
yeah.
order a bunch
Yes.
and be able to try them on and not have that experience of like, "Oh, well, the small doesn't fit and
Right,
only
right,
my
right,
size
right.
is extra large." It's like it's just a random eclectic bunch of things that are
Yeah,
all in the category that you're looking for. So
yeah,
it's like if you know that you want some like wild color clogs, then like set up a search. If you know you want some velvet
yeah.
jumpsuits, set up a search. And then it gives you something called the daily edit. So it
Okay, good.
sort of starts to learn your style over time. And in the same way that like over time Spotify's like, you like Waxahachie? Have you
Mhm,
heard
mhm.
of,
Yeah,
and it starts feeding you music that you might also like.
yeah.
ThredUp learns you too, and so
Mhm,
then every day you have 100 items that you can look at,
mhm,
and that was really helpful for me too in terms
mhm,
of training my style. It's almost like another Pinterest where it's like,
mhm.
"Yes, these sneakers. Oh my god, what are you thinking?
Right, right, right,
No,
right.
no, no,
Yeah.
yes." And so
And what's
that was
nice about
helpful
that
too.
too is it reduces the overwhelm, right? Like, you're not
Exactly.
looking at hundreds of thousands of items,
Right,
that they
because
have
their
on there.
inventory is quite large.
Yeah,
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 and it's
and
not an endless scroll,
right,
like, it's
exactly. Yeah,
actually
you know your
designed
fit.
to be finite, and I
Yeah,
just appreciate that about the UX. Like, I think
yeah,
that that was a choice.
for
So I like
sure.
that they're like, "Here's 100 things. Look at them and then go about your day."
Yeah. Yeah, and so just kinda looking in the comments and, so Rebecca's saying she never saves searches, so that is great. I also save searches on eBay, The RealReal. I'm sure you can do it on Poshmark, I don't know if I have any, but, um, Sean says, "I wish ThredUp would let you give more direct feedback
Mhm.
on the daily
I
edit, like
agree.
when it comes down." Yeah.
I agree.
But
I have thought that too.
you could probably click through the items that you do like and heart those, and then that probably is gonna add some data. Um and then Tara also checks for brands and looks for specific things, and I think that is one thing that is really helpful. This is actually one area where I have a little bit of trouble with ThredUp is because it is and I would love to learn more about, like, the back end of ThredUp, like, who's working to, uh, you know, get everything uploaded and input, because it feels where Poshmark and eBay feel a little bit more like you're buying from a person, like ThredUp does feel a little bit like a faceless, just massive computer, which is
Mhm.
fine. However, I find it doesn't have, like, style descriptors because the person
Mhm.
uploading it is just it's like, "Here's the
Right.
fabric, and here's, what we can tell you about it." So, like, for instance, something I'm looking for right now is, like, a boxy or oversized denim dress.
Mhm.
And, yeah, and so, like, it wouldn't necessarily come up with that, although I did do the search and it did actually come up with so maybe there's somehow a little bit of metadata.
I think so too. It's
Yeah,
funny because I was searching for boxy mock neck turtleneck like a little while ago.
yeah,
Again, boxy silhouettes, they're
yeah,
just so nice.
yeah,
Um, Yeah, and so it sort of depends. The other thing that you can do is you can actually feed the search an image. So you could screenshot something that you're looking for and then let it
Oh,
read
okay.
the image in the same way that Pinterest will read images.
Right.
To be like,
Yes.
really like this person's outfit. This Ajima is the Ajima for me.
Right, right,
And,
right, right.
and then it will actually populate like, well, here's as close as we can get with the inventory that we have. So that can be really helpful too.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, and eBay does that as well. And also just general tip for everybody, like if you do see something on a website or on Pinterest and you don't know where it came from, screenshot it and you can put it in a Google search just under the little camera icon. You can upload a photo to Google and it will almost always find kind of the source of it. And it will also lead you to secondhand listings for that item.
Ooh, that's a good tip.
So, yeah, and I'm trying this app called Gem, which is kind of what's the word? It's like consolidates, there's a specific word, but anyway, it kind of like aggregates your search across a bunch of secondhand. So if you search like boxy denim dress XL, it's gonna show you results from Poshmark, eBay, ThredUp. Actually, I don't know if it is ThredUp, Grailed, like other things. So that was, okay, somebody said, "Oh, the image search stuff." Oh, yeah, no, no, man. Okay, so if you, let me see if I can kinda do this. So let's say I actually happen to have a screenshot of a garment up that, I had screenshot on ThredUp the other day. So you take that garment or you take that photo. I typically use the Google app, but you can do it on a desktop as well. So you take the Google app, and right there is a camera. You click on the camera and it actually, well, there's my bedroom. But you can, add a photo from your photo stream, and then it's gonna grab that, and then you, search. And so what it does then is, first of all, it tells me the designer. I had no idea. It says this is a dress from, Raquel Allegra. And then it's gonna show you different versions of it that it can visually find across the internet, and a lot of the times, for instance, here's the same dress on Poshmark.
Mm,
Um, the picture I used was from ThredUp.
mm,
People in the chat tell me, "Does that explain that?" But yeah, I do this all the time. I mean, I do it for clients a lot, and they're like, "It's magic," and I'm like,
mhm.
"No, it's just it's just, computers and it's stuff I don't wanna know about what's going on back there." Anyway, okay, so ThredUp, now talk a little bit about the sending your stuff to them and getting credit, 'cause, some people have mentioned kinda wanting to do that.
Yes. So again, busy, busy business owner and caregiver. If
Mhm.
I do not have to drive and drop off donations and also go to the UPS store with my returns, that is like a huge win for me, particularly because I live in a rural area. So that is like 40 minutes saved right there.
Right.
Um, and so, yeah. So what I usually do is that I will save a bunch of searches. I will heart a bunch of items. I will be watching them. And then
Mm,
ThredUp will inevitably do a sale. They'll do like 50, 60, 70% off, some like ridiculous amount off.
okay.
That is when I will gather up all the things that have not been bought yet. I will do a big order. I will also be watching things like they have kids' clothing. And so I'll also be like,
Yeah.
not just looking for me, but I'll be like, my son needs rain boots because kids are always growing out of things. So it's like,
Yep,
he's going to need another coat. He's going to need, I don't know, a swimsuit or something.
yep.
So I just try to gather things up and I'll order maybe like 5, 10 things at a time. It comes in a big box because
Mhm,
they pack it with tissue paper. And
mhm,
so if you keep maybe half of the things and you're sending the rest back, there's space in the box. And what they'll
mhm,
do is they'll try to entice you to send your donations back and they'll
mhm,
take up to 20 items. And so, like, it's great for getting rid of kids' clothes that you're not using anymore because they're teensy. Like, you
mhm.
can fit 20 things
Yeah,
in
easily.
the top of a returns easily, right? 20 onesies, little tiny
Mhm.
shoes, which again is its own kind of grief, right? It's a
Yeah, for
different kind
sure.
of grief of like, oh, I won't have a little person wearing these shoes. But it's also like, yep. And now, like, these clothes get to support me in wearing new clothes
right.
that fit the body that I
So you
have because I
turn
made that tiny person.
right, you turn those things into credit that you can then use to buy yourself things for your changing body, the things that
Exactly.
your kid's body has changed out of. Um,
Exactly.
yeah, I love that,
Something
and
poetic about that.
yeah, and, a big question that always comes up for clients and readers and people in my group programs is that, okay, you've done a big closet edit and you've gotten rid of, the stuff that is giving you grief. What do you do with it? How do you dispose of it?
Mhm.
And that is a big article to be written, and it's a video I just made for my online group yesterday. Um, but short answer that's relevant today is that ThredUp is a good place if you are overwhelmed, if you have a chronic illness, if you have a very busy life. ThredUp is a great place they'll send you can just request a bag. I think there's a charge for it, but if it's your first time, I'm pretty sure they mostly send it to you for free. Um, and then you can fill out this bag with your donations and ship it to them. They will sell what can be sold. You will get a tiny bit of credit. Just to be clear with everyone, you have to keep your expectations low. Um, but it deals with that task for you. And, I have dug a bit and have not found like a lot of information on this, but ThredUp does say that they recycle what they can't use. And it is nearly impossible to find anywhere to recycle
Mhm.
locally, wherever you are, because most places that recycle fabrics, they only recycle tons of like actual weight metric tons of fabric. They're not going to take one
Mhm.
person's grocery bag or trash bag full of garments. So
Mhm.
yeah, so that's a really good way to kind of move those things. You don't want those things hanging around in your house or your car forever.
Mhm. Yes.
And just being able to do that is really good. I'll just say and having low expectations for resale is something everyone has to get used to across the board.
Yes.
When I take my clothes to a local, like, resale shop, like a Buffalo Exchange, Plato's Closet type place, um, I'll get $2 for a garment, like a Gap or a Madewell or something like that, and that's about, I think, what I just sold. I, for the first time, sent a bag, like, 6 months ago or something. It takes a while, so just expect that too
Mhm.
for the process, and then you have to wait to get the credit until someone actually buys
Mhm.
your thing.
Mhm.
So it really is kind of like consignment, in that way, and I got $2 for, like, a nice 100% cotton Gap sweater. Again, if if something is happening with it, you are getting something,
Mhm.
and if it can take that chore off your plate, I think that is really valuable, again, for mental health, which is
Yeah.
what we're working on here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely a situation where sometimes we let the perfect be the enemy of the good, where
100%.
especially if something has so much sentimental value to us, we have all these memories in it, or like it was our first, fancy thing that we bought with our money.
Mhm.
There's just so many associations that we can have with things where we would really like for the outside world to validate how special this item is to
Right.
us
Ooh,
for
I've had
paying us money. And I agree with you that I think that that's not the most helpful adaptive way to go about it. I think that we can honor that. We can have a moment. We can feel our feelings about it. And then
mhm,
I think there's an opportunity to practice non-grasping and generosity. Like these
mhm,
clothes are going to go somewhere where they are going to be useful to someone, which they are not going to do if they are sitting in your basement.
yeah,
They are going to go, as you said, to be either recycled or they work just with local consignment stores and places like the Salvation Army. So it's like they're just saving you a trip to the place where you would be taking it anyway for no money whatsoever.
right.
And somebody else is going through that. So somebody else is making the determination with a lot more data and a lot more help. And they're doing it at scale where they're like, yes, somebody's going to buy this. So we're going to put it up for sale. Somebody is
Right.
probably not going to buy this, but we will find a home for it. And I just think that I would rather outsource that task to somebody that can look at this pile of baby clothes like a little bit more rationally or
Um,
objectively than I can. I think it's a kind to myself that I'm not
yeah.
doing that. But I do wanna say, yes, we're not gonna get rich reselling things on ThredUp, and if you do have something that's I gave the example of, like, the Dior wedding dress from the
Mhm,
'70s or, like, this
mhm.
special sports jersey from the '90s, like, put that on eBay,
Yeah,
like, you don't have to put everything into the box,
right.
but
But again,
yeah,
that's gonna take
if
a
it's
lot
like
more
an Old
effort.
Navy sweater, just
Yes.
put it in the box.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love what you said. I always tell people when they're having trouble getting rid of something, often it's the things that people got a good bargain on. And I wanna wrap up
Mhm.
in a couple minutes, but often it's when people get something that they got a really there's a really good story associated with getting this garment. Like
Mhm.
somehow it was 90% off, or you wouldn't believe where I found this or whatever. Um, and they're never wore it, but still have a hard time getting rid of it because of that story. I would say tell somebody the story. Like, take a
Mhm.
picture, text it to your friend, and be like, "Oh my god, I have to get rid of this thing, but the story is XYZ."
Mhm.
And you put it a different way. You said sometimes you want the outside world to validate, that that was something special.
Mhm.
Thank you for that, Ryan. Yeah, just
Yeah.
looking at my notes again, I always have to write everything down. Um, and also, I just wanna give everybody permission too, that if they're like the most special things in your life, you can hold on to. I would only hold on to the things that have good associations, obviously, but,
Mhm.
I do have a Rubbermaid tub in my basement of clothes that I have saved over the years that I just really loved, that were super special to me, that don't fit anymore, and actually, I just gave a pair of the jeans that I had saved to my 11-year-old neighbor who is now wearing them
Oh.
because they were from, like, the early 2000s, which is trending.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
yay, I know. So, little uplifting note to end there. Anything
Mhm.
else that you wanna say about ThredUp, Ryan, that I know there's a lot that we haven't covered, but I will try and add some more of your tips when we post this video. But
Totally, totally.
I also
Yeah.
just want to say, everyone, really please go subscribe to Ryan's newsletter. It's called Intending, and it's just very heartfelt and heart-opening. And I really appreciate it a lot. So thank you so much for doing that. And I think everybody got so much out of this. I'm so excited. Um, so yeah, I can't wait to have this. Thanks to everyone who did join us, and I can't wait to have this posted for everyone else too. So
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me. This is,
of
this
course.
is sort of
No,
not my
and by the way,
usual
this
fare, but it
right.
there's so much mindfulness that's involved in getting dressed, and I think that that's what I would say is that these things can sort of be seen as it's like, the mindful people are over here drinking their lemon water, and then the rest of us are over here with our petty worldly concerns. And it's like, there is an enormous amount of mindfulness involved in every single thing that we've talked about. Everything from, working with self compassion to working with non grasping and generosity to really releasing old stories from the past and coming back into the present moment and using all of these skillful means to get there. So, like, while ThredUp is sort of like my tool of choice right now, you've named so many others. And so, yeah, what I would say is what you've given me is permission to work with my changing body, accept my changing body, and not to put weird diet culture, less buying things is always better, purity narratives on top of that. And you've really just allowed me to work with what is in a way that is relatively drama free. And so I think, I don't know, it feels like such a beautiful first full circle moment to be coming and speaking on this with you because yeah, this really tricky season that I was moving through brought me to your work and brought me to you. And now we have this really nourishing friendship. And so yeah, I like things that are cyclical. And I think that's why I like
Mhm.
ThredUp. It's just sending things that you're finished with and
Mm.
letting those things be composted and, then it's like the spring now, like the leaves that drop from prior seasons of our lives can be recycled and arise as new
Mhm.
green freshness. And I think everybody deserves that. And actually to locate yourself outside of that cycle is why would you do that? You
Yeah.
deserve freshness and renewal just like
Mhm.
every other living being.
Yeah.
So if ThredUp is the way, great. If it's not,
Yeah.
do it a different way because we don't work for them and they're not paying us.
Yeah. Exactly,
Do it
exactly.
whatever way works for you, but allow yourself to be renewed, I guess is what I would say.
Mm.
We're all worthy of that.
Okay, title
Yeah.
of the
Oh,
alright. Love you, Ryan, thank you.
yes, you too. Have a great day, everyone. It was so great to see all your names and faces and to continue the conversation in one newsletter space or the other. I hang out in the unflattering chat sometimes too and just
Yeah,
it's like I get dopamine from other people's dopamine dressing over there.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a shared experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
All right, everyone
I
have a great day and a great weekend. Bye.
cheer everyone.
Okay, literally trying how to end. There we go.